Welcome to the latest episode of Bucher and Hollins, subsidiary of Bucher and Friends on the United WeCast network. I'm Rick Bucher. He's Ryan Hollins, 10-year vet in the NBA. Now you can see him on ESPN. Obviously, you can hear him here. You can also follow him on Twitter at the Ryan Hollins, and on Instagram, it's simply Ryan Hollins. You can also follow the show at Bucher Friends, and you can read my stuff on Bleacher Report. All right, so let's get right to it. A number of interesting outcomes tonight. We had a near upset. We had I don't know if you'd call it a complete upset, but certainly a throttling of the defending champions. And we'll start with this game because I don't know what category you'd put it in. The Houston Rockets have been up and down. They go to Oklahoma City. They play a Thunder team that has been rolling, but they did so without Russell Westbrook there. So with all that said, Ryan, first of all, welcome. It's good to have. We just talked yesterday, so it's not like you need some. I don't need to get all warm and fuzzy with you. We just did this. But the Rockets going into Oklahoma City and getting run by a Thunder team that didn't have Russ Westbrook. Your take as far as, did it surprise you? Was it expected? What does it say?
Doesn't surprise me at all. I'd have picked OKC even without Russ right now. Defensively, I think they're the best team in the league, if not pound for pound, up there top three right now across the board. It's just a bit of a throwback the way they play. Mm-hmm. And dude, Houston is just really, really struggling. They're attempting to play the same way. Yeah. But without the defense, without the 3-and-D guys. You kind of fill your team with stars. And after those stars, you got your 3-and-D guys, the guys who can knock down threes and play defense. And they're missing that. There's just not the same vibe or aura there. I mean, the one thing you got to realize, too, Chris Paul kind of saves it to the playoffs. He's still working his way into shape. Harden's working his way. So they don't have that buffer. They don't have Ariza and Gordon, and I mean Gordon is there, but it was just all those guys together. Gerald Green would come in, and they all complimented and played off each other, and it was like, okay, James, now you're free to be who you want to be. James, if you're cooking, we're blowing teams out. If not, we'll defend and we'll win. We'll figure it out, and they just don't have that same energy, Rick.
Do you think that do you give any credence to the idea that the rumors of getting Jimmy Butler, whether it's they were out there and then they didn't happen, could any of that be having an impact on this team?
Man, there's a number of things. I don't think Jimmy Butler kills it. I think Carmelo, and I don't want to blame Carmelo, but it's tough because
I will. If you don't, I will. And I like Carmelo, and I think he's still a good player, but it's not a good fit.
I don't think it's fair, though, Rick. That's what I think. I think obviously – because you know how talented he is, and come with me on this, but I just don't think it's fair. You kind of see the writing on the wall. He can spot up, he can hit some knockdown threes. But if I'm asking for starter minutes, extended minutes, if I'm asking for defense, if I'm asking for something that I know Carmelo's not capable of, I don't think it's a fair assessment to put that on him.
No, I agree with you. I'm not putting this on Carmelo. I'm not saying it's his fault. But I can say that it's not his fault and at the same time say that it's a bad fit, because I do think that it's a bad fit. They had a hierarchy there. It was James and CP3 were going to produce or do the playmaking, drive the offense, and then everybody else was going to play defense and space the floor. And that was their formula for success last year. Carmelo, what he adds offensively doesn't make up for what he takes away defensively. And it's not just, you're right, it's not just on him. I just was with Trevor Ariza in Phoenix, and he said to me, the reason he left is because he didn't think that Houston valued him as much as they should have. He thought he meant more to them than they obviously did. And I said, I agree with you. I think that you were a key part. Luka Mute, same thing. And so I hear you in terms of them working their way into shape and all that. But this is why I thought Oklahoma City could be the biggest adversary for the Golden State Warriors and could potentially have the best record in the Western Conference. And I took the Houston Rockets out of it for this very reason. All right. I don't want to spend too much time on that. Bucks absolutely run the Warriors from wire to wire. Who does it say more about, the Bucks or the Warriors at this stage?
Well, for one, you got to rewind. If I'm not mistaken, the Bucks have knocked off the Warriors the last 3 or 4 years, or no matter who the team is on the other side, like they've been beating the Warriors. They are the East Coast, I guess, nemesis of the Warriors because they just match up. They play somewhat of these bastard lineups where we're 6'7" across the board. We're 6'8", 6'9". They're one of the longest teams in the league, and they just don't have enough Kevin Durant's on the floor to match up. And then, if Draymond's out, it is a tough cover. Now you're relying on your offense if you're Golden State, but there is something special going on with the Bucks. Bud, as we keep talking about, early candidate for Coach of the Year. I mean, he's turned that thing around, man. And it's one thing to have talent, brother, and it's another thing to do something with it. What you got, Rick?
Yeah, look, I've known Bud forever. I've known him since he was an assistant coach with San Antonio. We played pickup hoops all the time. We actually played pickup hoops at night in Phoenix.
Wow.
During the playoffs, when it's too hot to play during the day, they wait until 10:30 at night when it cools off enough that you can play outdoor. Got into some runs with him there. And so I know him well. In fact, I talked to him. I went to the Bucks Warriors game, talked to him afterward, caught up with him. He said, I'm so lucky to walk into this situation. I'm so lucky to be able to coach these guys. And that's where Jason Kidd and Joe Prunty deserve credit for developing this team. They didn't have all hands on deck last year. Matthew Dellavedova was hurt. Malcolm Brogdon was hurt. They had a lot of issues last year. They had Jabari Parker. They had to kind of work their way around and through him. That was an issue. He was in and out of the lineup. They had to deal with some things that Bud didn't have to deal with. And Jason did a tremendous job of developing Giannis, putting the ball in his hands and living with the growing pains. So I don't want to take anything away from Bud. He's taking him to the next level. I love seeing it, but he's the beneficiary of some work that was done by his predecessors.
No, absolutely. Look, Jason Kidd created Giannis. I remember we were getting ready to play, and he looked at me and said, I'm starting Giannis at the 5. And I said, are you kidding me? He said, yeah, I'm starting him at the 5. He's going to play point center tonight. And J. Kidd was doing this before Golden State was really all in on the small ball approach. Bogut was still playing. Lee was playing at the time. So I'm definitely not taking anything away from that. I think Coach Prunty, I was with him in Cleveland. He kind of got a raw deal, but he did a good job just getting those guys to play hard. But you have a lot of odd players, like I said. Eric Bledsoe is by no means just a natural point guard. He's just kind of a raw athlete playing the point guard position. Sure. Giannis can easily get in his own way. How do I say that for a player that's talented, dude? Because he can score anytime he wants, but yet are the other players on the floor involved? Yeah. They're just kind of defending. Lopez is just taking this stretch 5 deal to another level. It's just working right now. But hats off to Bud for putting it together, because these are the players. This is the team that you always look at, and they underachieve because they're talented, but they don't play together. So hats off for Bud getting them to play together.
Well, and they've done it so far. I put them in the same category as the Toronto Raptors and guys like DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry in terms of I've seen them have great regular seasons. I know what they are. I need to see them in the postseason when the pressure is on them and you're playing against the best teams and they can game plan specifically for you game to game to take away what your strengths are. And I need to see that from Giannis, because you know what teams are going to do with him. They're going to make him play in a crowd, and they're going to make him be a playmaker. And that's, to me, where he still has to develop his decision-making and his ability to get to places on the floor and then make the right play, whether it's trying to score or it's getting somebody else an easy bucket. That's still not what he does well. And so I need to see his evolution when it comes to that. How much do you put on the Warriors and this result for them that they got run?
I mean, it just happened every year. I mean, they're playing good basketball right now. They're probably going to start getting to the stage where they start just resting random guys and the bench steps in. but they just look motivated again this year. I don't know if it's the flack they kind of took from last year. They clean house in the locker room. A couple of those guys are missing, but they look kind of excited back to playing basketball. And here's a dynamic I want to see what you think about. When KD got to Golden State, Klay took the biggest, most selfless backseat to KD and said he and Steph would do whatever to make Kevin Durant comfortable. And it seems like Klay's like, you're comfortable. Let me get back to being me. Let me get back to playing basketball. And I believe this team is going to have more success because you get a little like Klay just when he hits shots, it demoralizes what you do because the hands are in the face. You've ran him off 100 screens or somehow he's the guy who ends up wide open with the basketball in his hands. And that's the last thing you want on a scouting report.
Yeah, it's interesting because he never looks like he's out of shape and he runs so much off the ball that I never question that. But there are people that believe that he is working his way into shape too. And so he's getting a lot of shots up. I don't know what his shooting percentage is right now. It seems like he's either been really on or really off. But you're right. When he's on, it's curtains. Like it's a wrap. My only issue is that the way they've played this year, offensively, I feel as if they got their swag and the rules have worked for them and they just came in with a rhythm. But defensively, I haven't been overwhelmed by the way that they play. I feel as if there's been some slippage there. And this to me was, they finally ran up against a team that could take advantage of it. And as the referees stop blowing the whistle on every touch foul and allow the game to become a little more physical, the Warriors are going to have to readjust at both ends because that's not a game that they like to play. When they have struggled against teams, it's because they've been able to get up and in them physically and thrown them off of their offensive rhythm and made it a little bit of a wrestling match. And
hey, Rick, didn't I tell you they're cotton candy on the inside?
Wait, did you say that? No, you must have said that. You must have said that on one of your other outlets.
I could have sworn man. Hey, look, I wouldn't go against them. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
But there's a real interesting dynamic because they are cotton candy tissue paper when it comes to offensive rebounding and shot blocking. And DeMarcus Cousins fills that void. But DeMarcus Cousins ain't switch out on no pick and rolls.
Exactly.
Fresh off of a torn Achilles. These are problems, brother.
Yeah, no, it's
real problems.
It's going to be interesting, and that's why I'm really curious to see. I will watch more so than them playing Houston. I want to see them play the Thunder as the season evolves. As the Thunder, because it really is a difference in styles. And I'll be really curious to see whether the Thunder can impose their will on the game. And the referees are going to have a tough job because they are going to have a huge influence on how those games go based on how they ultimately call them. The one other game we got to touch upon before we give everybody our picks for Friday night. By the way, I believe I went 3 for 4 this week.
Oh, gosh, I stunk it up.
Did you really?
If you went 3 for 4, we would have had it because we ain't had the same picks, Rick.
No. Yeah, from last week, I didn't add up what we did off of the last podcast. I am going to start keeping a running count of what we suggest and for us respectively, and we'll keep score on that. I've just been we've been throwing out knowledge on a variety. These things allow you people to consume it and then make your decisions in terms of which way you want to go. After you've heard what we have to say, we provide our insight on some of these teams and some of these situations. So we will get to that. But the Celtics were down by as many as 22, I believe, to the Phoenix Suns. They'd already lost their first 2 games on this road trip. They have Portland and Utah coming up. And I thought for sure that after losing to Denver, that they would come in and they would just smoke Phoenix. I knew they still had some issues, but I didn't expect them to fall behind by 22. And then last gasp, Marcus Morris hits a 3 to push it to overtime. And then they end up winning in overtime. Really take advantage of the Phoenix Suns.
Can I pat myself on the back right now?
How's that?
Didn't I tell you Phoenix was a team in our early prediction that just they really confused me because it was like, who are you? I'm actually looking at your roster and going, this really isn't half bad, but you're partway in between tanking, which means you can play with anybody on any given night. Yeah. And then as far as Kyrie Irving, I was like, dude, is this guy even motivated this year? And you really see that in this game. I mean, dude, Rick, I'm watching the highlights. Like, they were getting blasted.
You know what? I don't. You know, the problem that I'm having, and particularly watching them, because look, you're incorporating Kyrie and Gordon Hayward. It's a little bit harder than you think, but the issue that I have is like in this game, it was like they decided to make the mid-range jumper an art form. They wouldn't take open threes. They would put the ball on the floor. They would attack, and they'd get halfway there. And this is like, other than Kyrie just never stops. He's always trying to drive to the rim. But Jason Tatum was pulling up. Jaylen Brown was pulling up. I was astonished. Marcus Smart even pulling up. I was astonished.
The Suns were up 92-76 with 5 minutes to go. Oh, my God.
Yeah. No, it wasn't. And they still.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Ultimately still gave it back. I'm staying with, in spite of the fact that I've gotten a firsthand look at the Toronto Raptors and I think they're for real, I'm going to stay with the idea that it's really early and the Celtics are going to find their stride. I think that their depth, I just, you know what struck me is they didn't look very athletic and they were just sloppy, a step slow. The turnovers in the first quarter, I thought somebody had stolen, like it was the Monstars. Like somebody had who were these guys? These were not the Celtics in these uniforms. But they did pull it out.
Gosh, I'm kind of amazed at how this is. I'm watching it unfold. I'm amazed at how it's happening.
Yeah,
a minute left. It's 98-92. There's 40 seconds left.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you kidding me?
And Devin Booker was at the heart of it. Devin Booker had a key turnover at the end that Marcus Morris turned into a three. And they didn't foul. They were up by 3. They didn't foul on the last possession to send them to the line. It was.
Oh my gosh! Is that an and one? Did they give an and one up? So they're down 3.
Ryan Hollins reliving the game now as we speak. All right, I'm going to pull you away.
Oh my gosh! You didn't switch that. Oh, the Suns are point shaving, bro. They didn't switch. They didn't switch a last. Everybody knows you switch at the end of the game, bro. Rick, oh gosh, I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness gracious. We have to move on. This portion of the podcast is brought to you by sportsbetcollective.com. You can find me there all week long, giving out tips and picks throughout the week. But we have a segment on the podcast specifically where Ryan and I give you our picks. Let's be real. Betting on sports makes the games a lot more fun to watch. And we are here to give you our NBA picks of the week. You can always find mine at sportsbetcollective.com with commentary, insider knowledge you can't find anyplace else. The first pick and analysis is free. And there's also a great group of sports media experts, professional sports bettors, retired athletes, and sports-obsessed entertainers who are making picks, not just in the NBA, NFL, college football, college basketball, you name it. So whether you're a seasoned sharp or a total sports betting beginner, sportsbetcollective.com will help you beat the odds no matter the size of your bet for under $1 per pick. So catch all of my picks at sportsbetcollective.com. All right, we got the Charlotte Hornets at the Philadelphia 76ers. The Charlotte Hornets are getting 5.5 points. Now, the Sixers are just coming off of a big win over the Indiana Pacers. Sixers have not looked themselves for the better part of this year. I think there's still some issues there. The Hornets going into Philadelphia, getting 5.5. The over-under is 225. How do you see that game going?
I'm going to take the Sixers by 5. They're still good at home. They find ways to win. They get that home crowd in. And I'm going to take the under, 225. The Sixers do win ugly basketball games. I think guys are starting to get a little nicked up as this time of the year. So you're going to see these 3-point percentages start to drop a little bit. So I'm going with the under, Rick.
Yeah, they're a different team at home than they are on the road. That Pacers win was the first win on the road that they've had all season.
Gosh, that's sad.
Yeah. And so I got to believe that they can give the 5.5. And I'm with you. I'm going to take the Sixers and give the 5.5. I'm not going to play the over-under. I looked the other day, and I had made 6 over-under picks in the season so far, and I had gone 1-5. I was good on everything.
So you're
else.
Just not going to play?
I'm just going to sit. I'm going to sit that one out.
Oh my
I could sit it out.
You can't do that, Rick. Come on, Rick.
Not only can I.
What type of loser?
I am going to. Let's go to the Wizards and the Magic. The Wizards are giving 2.5, and the over-under is 219, and that game is in Orlando. This is a tricky one because I have no faith in the Wizards whatsoever, but I don't know that the Magic are good enough to take advantage of a Wizards team that seems to be coming apart at the seams. DJ Augustine, really the only accomplished point guard of any note with the Magic, and that's a problem when you're playing against John Wall.
I'm taking Orlando. And the Wizards aren't interested in basketball right now. Like, it's really ugly. I think guys are getting into it in the locker room. They're just ready. They're just kind of ready for someone to be traded, moved, just something to happen, man. There's real bad energy. My guy, John Dub, is out there calling fans out on.
I know. How about that?
Oh, gosh.
Such a bad look.
And gosh, this over-under, they're really stumping me with the 100. So I'm gonna take the over because they're gonna steal. And there's a lack of defense by the Washington Wizards right now that's disgusting right now. You get anything that you want.
They might be disinterested, but I have a hard time. I'm going to give the 2.5, and I'm going to have Washington. I'm going to have the Wizards winning this. When it comes to the over-under, I got to go under. I don't think that they're playing particularly well. The Magic struggle offensively. When it comes to offensive efficiency, Phoenix is at the bottom, and then there's Orlando. Washington is 21st in the league when it comes to offensive efficiency. I'm going to go under on that. All right, Detroit Pistons are at the Atlanta Hawks, and the Pistons are giving 5 points, and the over-under is 225.
I'm going to take the Pistons here. The Hawks aren't bad, but they're still young. There's some growing pains there. Pistons just kind of muddy the game up, and I'm going to take the under. I'm going to take the under, even though Atlanta is jacking up a lot of threes when they play. a lot of threes, bro, but the Pistons they still play ugly. It is Detroit basketball. There's nothing real sexy about what they're doing. So I'm going to take the under again.
I'm going to go with you on both counts with that. I'm going to go Pistons, and I'm going to go under. The line is not out yet on the Pacers and the Heat, so we'll skip that one. The Nets are at the Nuggets and are getting 9.5, and the over-under is 211. That feels low. I want to start with the over-under. Does that feel low?
Very low.
Because the Nets are going to try to push it, even though you're in the mile-high air. So Denver played Boston. Those are two teams that don't really play at pace, and they're supposed to be really good defensive teams. And Jamal Murray went for 48, and they blew past the under, which is very close to what this is. So all that said, I got to go over on this. Who do you have? You got the Nets getting 9.5. The Nets have been a tough team.
I'm going to go with the Nets right now. If you're going to give them 9, they play solid basketball, and they actually match up really well. The Nuggets, they're just a solid, well-coached, Mike Malone doing a great job. Just group of guys. It's just a solid group of guys, and I'm taking the over. I'm with you, Rick. These are two teams that are going to get up and down the floor. 211 is extremely low, so I'm taking the over, and I'm taking the Nets.
All right, that is it. It's a wrap. He's Ryan Hollins. You can find him on Twitter at the Ryan Hollins. You can follow the show at Bucher Friends. And you can follow me at Rick Bucher. You can follow my stuff at Bleacher Report. If you enjoy the show, please drop us a rating and review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And we have a contest running right now where if you screenshot your review and tweet it to us at Bucher Friends, you'll be entered for a chance to win some swag from Ryan, Will, or me. And in this case, we have a Jerry Rice signed football. Put a rating, screenshot it, shoot it to at Bucher Friends, and you'll be eligible to win the football. And we're going to do this on a regular basis. We want to give away some stuff for you guys, and all we ask is that you give us a rating on iTunes so we know exactly how we're doing. He's Ryan Hollins. I'm Rick Bucher. Thanks for joining us.